seems to go on holidays for the month of August. Like, we need urgency. They need to get on with it. It's a grand plan. I think it's fine. I think it's ambitious. I think the emphasis on capital over current is correct. I have reservations about how they're spending in terms of current spending, but you're going to talk to Barra Rowntree about that in a couple of minutes. But capital, I think, is the way to go for. Is the way forward. But they have to get on and do it now. It's about delivery, and they just need to do it.
Can I just remind everyone, this is the third rodeo. If you want to include the confidence and supply arrangement that Fine Gael had with Fianna Fáil, this is this current government's incarnation.
Well, sorry, it's actually, you know, like it's their second rodeo as a government. Fianna Fáil weren't part of that government.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not looking around and seeing capital investment to the point at which we are celebrating the facts that we are making.
No, absolutely not. But like, let's get on with it. Let's get what's happened has happened. What hasn't happened hasn't happened. Let's get on with it now, Jonathan, and let's do it. Like, they're going to be judged on the success of this. 4 years time, 10 years time. I don't care about the spin. I don't care about the PR. Let's just get on and do it. Look, let us know what you think. Is it it is definitely ambitious. Can they deliver it, I suppose, is the question we're asking this morning. And it's the question we'll be putting to on Taoiseach later on as well. 087 1400 106.
Well, in the short term at least, the €9.4 billion budget for 2026 could be affected by a deterioration in the tariff landscape, i.e. what's happening with Donald Trump. The summary economic statement is silent on exactly how things would change if a big shock happens. Dr. Barra Rowntree is Assistant Professor of Economics at Trinity College. Barra, good morning.
Morning.
I mean, I know that it is a threat and a risk rather than a reality, but the whole budget could be completely shot out of the water if Donald Trump decides to go a different direction with Europe.
Yeah, well, I suppose we don't really know what the budget's going to be because they haven't given us the key details and they've kind of been silent on lots of them and said, well, it's up to what happens with tariffs. And you're right, things could look a lot worse in a couple of weeks' time if Donald Trump is as truculent as it seems to be shaping up to be and imposes a high level of tariffs. And that could have big implications for the economy and for the public finances themselves. But what we saw in the summary economic statement that was announced yesterday was something quite odd. So we saw the announcement of, you know, commitment to infrastructure spending, which, as you've been talking about, is very, very sensible. It's the right thing to be doing. There's big questions about delivery, but you know, we have massive deficits that we need to catch up on. But on the current side, what we saw was an announcement that we're going to, well, first that actually we're going to see overruns this year, even above what was announced last year, which was really quite surprising. I think the scale of it, we're talking about a couple of billion. Again, it's not clear from the figures, but it's shaping up to be a couple of billion. And that's a couple of billion over what they said they were going to spend in the pre-election budget, which was a lot more. You know, they really had ramped up spending in that, and we've been told, well, actually it's going to be even higher because we're not keeping control and government departments are overspending. And then on top of that, what they said is for next year, we're going to still increase current spending by 6.5% or so. So another big increase in current spending. But the weirdest thing that I found with the whole summary economic statement was they say, well, we're going to do that unless things get bad, unless we do get the situation with Trump and tariffs, in which case we're going to cut back. Which is the precise opposite of what we should be doing. What we should be doing is being kind of cautious as the economy is currently going well. We should not be kind of trying to overeat it further. And then if things go bad, the government should step in and start spending more. But we're being told that the government's strategy is to do the opposite, that they're going to take money out if tariffs do come through. And that just makes no sense whatsoever.
Is it a kind of a fiscal paralysis we're stuck in then, which goes to my point that I don't think that the NDP can be delivered because of this weird situation they find themselves where they want to spend, they don't want to spend. In fact, they don't know what they want to do.
Paralysis, it might be a good thing if it slowed down the pace of current spending increase we've seen the last few years, but it's not. But they're going for it, and they're going for it hard. I think what we're really seeing is kind of a bit of Charlie McCreevy for slow learners. We'll kind of, well, when I have it, I spend it. When I don't, I don't. And we're going back to that, which again, I thought was one of the things that we learned from the last crisis was you don't want to leave yourself in that situation, that you don't want to try to overheat the economy when things are going good, as we did over the 2000s, and you don't want to leave yourself in a situation where, you know, the public finances fall apart and you're not able to step into the breach and that you have to make those cuts. But instead, what we seem to be doing is to be actively saying, well, that's going to be our strategy, that if the tariffs come in high and if economic activity starts to fall back and if that starts to hit the public finances, well, then we're going to have to reshape the government's financial packages and pull back on that. And again, that's just the complete wrong approach. It's the direct opposite of what basic economics tells us should be approached to macroeconomic policy.
Just to finish up on it, Barra, there are huge demands across every single sector, but should the government at least be prioritising where there can be gains made? Again, I go back to housing. Health is always going to cost more, but it just seems as if they want to spend, but they've no way of controlling the spending.
I think that's right, and then again, you see that, I suppose, most in terms of the tax package and the rumour of what's going to go into that. Well, one, the fact that they're suggesting they're going to have a large tax package, that they're going to have 1.5 billion set aside for new kind of tax cuts, and so that's not just going to be, making sure that tax credits and bans keep pace with earnings growth or inflation. They seem to be saying, well, they're going to do more on top of that, and they also don't seem, well, they seem to be starting to maybe face into the fact that they can't do everything they want on that side. That cutting VAT on hospitality would cost up almost $1 billion, that would eat up all that package there. And again, doing that at a time when the economy is doing quite well, and the hospitality sector by any metric is doing quite well, would be mad from an economic policy perspective, but seems to be politically the position where the government's got themselves into.
Dr. Barra Rowntree, Assistant Professor of Economics at Trinity College Dublin, thank you very much for that. Shane, I can't help feel as if they're always in an election cycle, despite the fact they're not even 1 year in to their term in office.
I hope that's not the case. I mean, they have rolled back on the one-off payments, but as Barra said, that idea of we'll spend unless the economy turns down and the tariffs hit is definitely not a good approach. I think, what did he say, Charlie McCreevy, for slow learners?
Great line.
Yeah, there's a good line. Coming up to 7:15 on News Talk Breakfast. Tour guides at the site of the Battle of the Boyne are not allowed to wear green and orange, according to an email regarding dress code seen by the Irish Independent. For more on this, we're joined by Dr. Ruth Dudley Edwards, historian, commentator and author of The Faithful Tribe. Ruth, your reaction to this email about dress code?
Weariness, really, Shane. Just absolute weariness. I am so sick of labels of all kinds. I'm so sick of the assumption that you can tell, that you go out dressed as your political views. I'm so sick of rainbow colours, for instance. I mean, I remember when Pride was 1 day. It's now a month. And it's all over the place. And, I also have this vision of bureaucrats, well-meaning, busy people sitting at their desks saying, now, what can we control next? What is the next possible problem? Oh, yes, you might wear something green and upset an orange man because they're touchy, or vice versa.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to see it from the OPW's viewpoint. I'm struggling, but I'm trying. Are they thinking of a scenario, say, for example, where a group come down from East Belfast and they're orange men or whatever, and there's a fella there in a Celtic jersey or something, and that's just it's just kind of bad manners, rather than it's going to outrage them or anything. It makes them uncomfortable.
Well, I'm fine about giving warnings about bad manners, but and they're right to outlaw emblems, political emblems. Now, if Celtic T-shirts are being worn as political weapon, well, it's perfectly reasonable to tell the guides that that's really rather offensive. But otherwise, you can't ban colours.
No,
Constant.
it is ludicrous.
I recently went to, a couple of years ago actually, I was asked by the TUV, which is the most hardline unionist party, to speak to them as an outsider about what they were doing wrong, really. And I wore my new suit, which was bright Kerry green, because it happens to be my favourite colour. It always has been. And I remember looking at it in the morning of it and thinking, I should wear this, but should I wear this? Is it going to offend them? And I thought, sod it, they're grown-ups. And I wore it, and nobody said a word.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking,
a friendly critic wasn't coming to try to upset them.
yeah, I'm also thinking, if I went, that the black taxi tour of Belfast, if it happened to be a loyalist taxi driver and he turned up in a Rangers jersey, I wouldn't find it offensive. I wouldn't be annoyed by it. I'd be probably amused by it more than anything else.
It'd be his territory.
Yeah.
And it isn't. I mean, so often, and you know exactly in every part of our lives what the bureaucrats are doing, because they want to do their job, and they're just trying to micromanage us in every respect. In including in our thoughts, including in what are thought to be our thoughts. I am so fed up. I bought some time back some micellar cleansing water, which is some water which is, if you've got delicate skin, you don't want to harsh cleansers on your face. And I discovered it was Pride. It had Pride all over it. It's now been sitting in my bathroom for 3 months, giving people that don't know me the assumption that I'm some sort of Pride activist, because I wasn't going to spend another £8 and throw it away. And you think, what the hell are you doing this for? Just keep the politics out of it.
All right, Ruth Dudley Edwards, Dr. Ruth Dudley Edwards, historian, commentator, author of The Faithful Tribe. Thank you for talking to News Talk Breakfast this morning. We did ask for a statement from the OPW in relation to this. They have not come back at this stage. If they do, we're happy to bring them to bring you that statement.
On the National Development Plan, part of the reason, says this texture, the government can't deliver on housing is the skills shortage. How are the government going to deliver on water when Uisce Éireann are facing the same issue, with county council staff refusing to transfer to Uisce Éireann, preferring to redeploy in the council? And one more, why is nobody addressing the recession that we are in? We are in for one of the toughest times in our lives, and it's been completely ignored. Why? All the signs are there. Just
We're not in recession.
Inflation.
We're not in recession.
That person.
Let's fact check here. We're not in recession.
Yes,
we maybe could be at some point in the future if the tariff war explodes, but we are not. We have a booming economy at the moment.
Have a bowl of Weetabix, listener, you'll be fine.
Breakfast Business.
With Enterprise Ireland, the National Enterprise Hub is your single source for all government supports for business. Visit neh.gov.ie.
Well, we're going to stick with the National Development Plan, 275 billion over 10 years, an extraordinary front-loading of it as well over the next 4 years as well. Joe, what did you make of it all?
Well, if they want to spend over 100 billion euros in the next 5 years, because that's what they want to do, 26 to 30, there's a huge risk that will lead to a spike in prices, because if you've got a lot of money chasing very few resources and capacity, the price only goes one way, and that is north. So I'd be worried about that.
I suppose the one thing is a lot of these would be huge projects, so you would be maybe outsourced, it'd be contractors from abroad or whatever. So
Well, 2 billion for Metro. How many shovels are you going to get in the ground is the real issue, because there's
what
still
will the final cost of Metro be?
well north of 10 billion.
Oh, I think you can multiply that.
Well, what I found was strange in this announcement is they got all this money, but there's no reference to changing the legal environment to get things done quicker. In other words, there was a lot of talk about the so-called common good clause, whereby the good of the nation is taken into account rather than the individual rights of objectors. The Oireachtas Committee has been looking at that. There was no reference to that, because all this money will still get delayed in judicial reviews and objections to everything we've done. I'm not sure that's going to help. There was no detail. Remember, that it's all for individual departments. We know the department.
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem with that. Right. I think let departments get on with it. Give them, like, just saying you need to do this, get on with it. Where you think the money should be
But
spent.
isn't the problem with civil servants that civil servants might decide to slow walk everything and go
That is the
places?
problem. That is a
the issue.
potential
So if you give it to the departments, they could slow walk it. And then, of course, there's the fact that 1.5 billion in tax cuts were planned, and 1 billion of that is going to go to one sector, the hospitality sector, leaving for the rest of us only quote $500 million in tax cuts. So there would be my observations.
Yeah, all very astute observations indeed. America has signed a trade deal with the 4th largest economy in the world, Joe.
Yeah, announced on, of course, Truth Social by the Donald that Japan will get a 15% tariff rate. Now, the initial starting rate was 10%, so it's up from the so-called Liberation Day tariffs, but down from the 25% that was threatened by Donald 2 or 3 weeks ago. This is probably good for the Japanese in the sense that it gives them some sort of sense of where they are. They've got a huge car-making industry, huge export economy, and so they will get, at least they know they pay 15%. But what it does do, if you ask me, is it creates a major dilemma for the EU. Does the EU accept 15% across the board on every single product coming into the United States and nothing in return? Because that's what's happening. It's an asymmetric deal. It's a major, major issue for the EU. And talking of which, General Motors, once the biggest car company in the world, said that Trump's tariffs on steel has cost them $1.1 billion in the last 3 months alone.
Okay. when that kind of pressure come to bear on
Politically come to bear.
Yeah. Okay, Joe Lyme, thank you indeed for that. We'll talk to you in the next hour.
Breakfast business.
With Enterprise Ireland, the National Enterprise Hub is your single source for all government supports for business. Visit neh.gov.ie.
Still to come on News Talk Breakfast.
Sharon! Joanne! Sharon! This is a joke! I'm trying to get out of this damn place! Wait! Sharon!
Certainly one of the guys, as we knew Ozzy Osbourne as. He has passed away at the age of 76, and we will pay tribute to him. But up next in sport, Shell's back in Champions League action tonight with John Duggan.
News Talk Breakfast with Ciara Kelly and Shane Coleman.
In association with Air. Don't settle for narrow signal. Widen your Wi-Fi with new Air Wi-Fi. Air for all.
This is News Talk.
Batch cooking never used to be a thing, but makes so much sense. A little effort up front and you're sorted for the week. Planning your finances? Same deal. What you do now can make your future easier. So visit AIB Life Hub in your AIB mobile banking app for all the information and ingredients you need on investments, protection and pensions. AIB, for the life you're after. Allied Irish Banks PLC is tied to AIB Life for life and pensions business. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Sale assurance DAC trading as AIB Life is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Allied Irish Banks PLC is a 50% holding in Sale assurance DAC.
Ireland, this is your broadband wake-up call. Over 275,000 people are waking up to Vodafone Fibre Broadband, now for just €25 a month. So stop snoozing on award-winning broadband. Switching is easy at Vodafone.ie.
Subject to eligibility, signing up for a €40 per month broadband package, €15 discount applied for first 6 months, an annual price increase of $3.50 each April. 24-month contract applies. Terms see Vodafone.ie.
Bosch, appliances you can rely on. For peace of mind, choose from Bosch's 5-year warranty range of home appliances. For more information, go to paracity.ie. T's and C's apply.
Most travel insurers see your lost bag as a lost bag, but VHI Multi-Trip sees the head melt, the lost party dress, the With coverage of all your trips all year from €59.99, there'll be less melted heads and more melted ice cream. VHI Multi-Trip. That's how VHI does travel insurance. Terms and conditions apply.
Nu slutar rean hos Jysk med fantastiska erbjudanden. Spara upp till 70% på varor till sovrummet. Köp nu i en Jysk-butik nära dig eller på jysk.se. Jysk, Scandinavian Sleeping and Living.
5 skäl att besöka Biltemas café. Kokt korv med bröd, 5 kronor. Varför betala mer? Vi ses!
Maybe it'll work for you. Go on, give it a go.
Find your someone special. Sign up today at godating.ie. As loved by News Talk.
News Talk Breakfast with Ciara Kelly and Shane Coleman.
In association with Air. Experience Ireland's fastest broadband speeds with new 5 gig fibre broadband from Air. Air for all.
This is News Talk.
Coming to 7:27, let's get sports.
On News Talk.
With Outsurance. We're looking for people to be part of our sales team based in Cherrywood, Dublin. Visit outsurance.ie/careers. Outsurance DAC trading as Outsurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
JD is with us. Morning, John.
Morning, Jonathan.
Shelburne back in Champions League action tonight.
It's going to be difficult to talk apart, Jonathan, because they're playing Karabakh of Azerbaijan in Dublin in the first leg of their second qualifying round tie. So League of Ireland champions going into the match, which has got a 7:45 kick-off time. Morgan Healy were playing goal because Conor Cairns is injured. Karabakh were in the last 16 of the Europa League only 2 seasons ago. Shelburne manager Joey O'Brien is excited about the match.
You need to embrace that challenge, as I said to the lads today. These are the games you want to be involved in. These are the games you want to challenge yourself at. Up against players, top-level players. That's what it's all about for me, going in against a player that, on paper, people are talking about, or should be better, or is better than. That's what football is, man. You go out 90 minutes, take a crack off them, see who's standing at the end of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do get through. Obviously, it's good to have a Champions League involvement from an Irish club. Speaking of European football, England, they left it very late last night against the Italians. They were 1-0 down when I turned that off.
Yeah, and
31.
Michelle Ajiman, she's only 19 years of age. She scored a 96th minute equaliser to send the semi-final to extra time in Geneva, and then they got another goal. To be fair, I think they deserved it. They were well on top once Italy did score. So Chloe Kelly had a penalty which was saved, but she followed up to score the goal that sent England, who've had a charmed life in this competition, through to the final. They are the defending champions, but Ash Yaman has hardly played senior football for Arsenal, but she was brilliant, I thought. Only 19, and Kelly, her Arsenal teammate, scoring as well. So Spain and Germany tonight in the second semi-final in Zurich. Spain, as we know, the world champions. Could be a repeat of the World Cup final if Spain win. England in the final, Jonathan.
Louth have a new senior football boss.
They do. Gavin Devlin, he's going to replace Ger Brennan in the wee county. So Devlin's been around the block with Mickey Hart as a coach and played for Tyrone in an All-Ireland final in 2003 when they won. So a highly respected coach in the game, and he worked with Hart between 2020 and 2023. So he's replaced Ger Brennan there. He's got a 3-year deal with the Leinster champions, obviously.
Yeah, still think more to come from Louth in the next few years. I can't believe you're making me do this next story.
Go on.
It's Wednesday, John. I'm just getting over it.
Yeah, so we heard from John McGrath yesterday, the Tipperary forward, and he says their Munster exit last year provided the fire in the belly for their All-Ireland success. So, as we know, they won it for 29th time on Sunday, following that remarkable second-half comeback, and the 30-year-old got 2-2 in the game. He says his third All-Ireland winners' medal is particularly sweet.
Oh, thank God. I wasn't fooling myself for the last few years that I was able to get back up to the level I thought I had and to be able to contribute, so from that side of things, it's probably just the satisfaction of maybe proving others wrong and maybe proving myself right, I suppose, in some ways, that makes this one quite special now.
John got 7-16 in the championship.
He was just so good this year. He really was. It's funny that nobody can talk about it down here still. We are still traumatized.
Is it just numbness, Jonathan?
No, absolute numbness. They just can't get over it.
Can you get your head around it? Can you get your head around even a few days later why it happened?
No. I mean, I've read so much, and every conversation eventually comes round to it, and we end up talking about sweepers and decisions made by the sideline and sendings off, and none of us can still make head.
Maybe sometimes sport, has these freak occurrences, and that was one of those. And maybe we shouldn't read too much into it, and Cork might be back next year.
Well, they'll be back next year, but as I said, we need a few months to decompress. Sorry, Doug, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. 7:31 is the time. Let's go back to the newsroom and Shay Beattie.
Thanks, Jonathan. Over 100 aid organizations are warning mass starvation is spreading in Gaza. The UN Human Rights Office says more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed while trying to get food since May. There's been a first major protest in Ukraine in more than 3 years of war. Thousands of people have been on the streets of Kiev criticizing what they see as a weakening of anti-corruption legislation by giving the president, Volodymyr Zelensky's team, greater oversight of investigations. And there could be a new celebrity couple on the scene. Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson have done little to kill rumours of a romance between them when they appeared at the Naked Gun premiere in London last night. Pam has insisted they're just friends, but they couldn't keep their hands off each other on the red carpet. Out on the roads with thanks to Sia Partners, a quiet start to Wednesday, but in Dublin, Finglas Road inbound, slow between Glasnevin Cemetery and Hart's Corner, South Circular Road southbound busy from the Cunningham Road junction to the St John's Road junction, and Patrick Street northbound is congested from St Patrick's Cathedral to Christchurch. Now the weather, with thanks to Ryanair, a mix of sunny spells and well scattered showers. Highest temperature 16 to 20 degrees. That's it for now. More at 8.
News Talks Summer Cash Machine.
The cash machine has been reloaded, and we'll have a guaranteed winner this Friday. The amount you need to know is €254,000. €254,000 exactly. Get your entry by 3 p.m. on Friday. The cash machine will randomly book one entry. It could be you were calling during Moncrief. Answer in 5 rings, tells the prize amount, and the cash is yours. 2 ways to enter: newstalk.com/cash machine, or text the word play to 57557. The cost is €2.50 plus your standard best rate to play. You got the over 18 to enter. You're playing across the goal line at different stations. Full terms on newstalk.com.
The Taoiseach Patrick will be with us in the next hour. We'll talk to him about the National Development Plan, but we've asked him your opinion this morning of what you think is going to happen and what the money should be spent on. Morning, lad, says John, forget the metro. It's madness to put all your eggs in one basket. We could build a full Lewis system covering all of Dublin with several trams terminating at the airport and provide super public transport. Well, one listener earlier on didn't have his Weetabix. That fella definitely has. Can you imagine that? I mean, how dare you come up with a functioning system that might actually benefit everybody?
Now, it is 7:33 on News Talk Breakfast. Black Sabbath frontman and heavy metal icon Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2019. Jeannie Wolf, Hollywood journalist, joins us now. Jeannie, you've interviewed Ozzy. What was he like?
Well, he's kind of a teaser. He's a crazy guy, as much as you expect. But he's very alluring because he likes to kid around, but then he gets very serious about himself. You know, there was just a little over a few weeks ago that he gave what he called his final concert. He's known for almost 6 years that he has Parkinson's disease. And he talked about the fact that he couldn't stand it anymore. You know, all the medications and all the taking care and all of that. And he says that he wasn't such a druggie anymore, but I'm not sure that that's totally true.
He was a pretty. We'll talk about his music in a moment, but I suppose he was known as the godfather of heavy metal. But he was also renowned for his lifestyle, which was pretty chaotic.
Yes, very chaotic. His wife was his longtime manager, and so she kept things going. But the thing that really changed everything for him, funny enough, with all his worldwide fame, was the TV show that took cameras off to his house. And I laughed so hard at him because he said, you know, it's one thing that they get me when I'm crazy, but they get me when I'm taking out the trash. What do they think? I have a roadie who's assigned to doing the trash? I have to take out the trash.
That show, it was kind of transformative. I mean, it led the way for the Kardashians and so on. I mean, it was pretty whether you liked it or not, it was certainly groundbreaking.
Well, yes, whether you liked it or not, you had to watch it because it was very true, but also Sharon was very good at stunts and coming up with things that people would want to watch and that the network would be happy with. And they became world famous, but you're right, it was before all those other shows like that.
His music, I have to admit, I wasn't a fan of Black Sabbath, but there are many hardcore heavy metal fans who he would be an icon for.
Yeah, well, Prince of Darkness, of course, and he kind of almost invented heavy metal, and his biggest problem in life was that he just couldn't stay away from drugs, and he admits that for long periods of time, it wouldn't just be drugs, it would be drugs and alcohol. And he, I said, are you calming down? Are you, he said, I'm still me. I'm still going to be crazy me, but, I know better. But he was very unhappy being sick, you can imagine.
Yeah, of course. Probably his most infamous stunt was when he bit the head off a bat live. Apparently he didn't realize it was a bat. He thought it was a rubber toy, and he
thought it was a prop.
He thought it was a prop, yeah. And he had to have loads of injections afterwards against rabies.
Well, he went. Yes, they were worried because it was real bad, and they took him straight to the hospital and gave him tetanus shots. But it wasn't like he loved his children. He was really a great dad. But when his son went into rehab, he really blamed himself. He was very sad about that, because he had a feeling that he had controlled it, which of course he never did.
He does seem to have been. I know when an icon or when a famous person dies, you will inevitably get tributes, but they do seem to be quite genuine about him, about his sense of humor, about that he was pretty a kind of a nice guy.
Yeah, he was he was wild, absolutely wild. But he was also, there was a sweetness about him, and almost a daddy figure, which sounds completely opposite of his image. And, he loved to look ridiculous. He loved to be louder than everybody else. He loved to to say and do things that would shock you and let your chin fall. But he knew that whatever he did, he had this way of getting publicity because no one else at that time was doing what he was doing. And he was a great musician. The musicians that are coming on now to say their goodbyes to him, they're not just bowing to his stunts. They do think he was a great musician, but that his problem was he couldn't keep it together because he wasn't like Elton John, who at some point in his life said, "I'm going to straighten things up, and I'm going to be fine." No, Ozzy never reformed, even when he said he did.
Jeannie, we have an expression in Irish about somebody, Ní bheidh leithéid do ríshan, we'll never see his like again. It's certainly true in relation to Ozzy Osbourne.
It is true, and it looks like anybody that we will think we're seeing again is copying him. He was a true original, and that was the best and the worst thing for him.
Okay, he certainly was. Jeannie Wolf, Hollywood journalist, thank you for that tribute to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne.
I never realised that the bat story. I genuinely thought even the humour was a bat. I didn't realise he thought it was a rubber bat.
No, and apparently had to have loads of rabies shots in there. It was pretty horrific, I think. But,
yeah, what a life. I won't say well lived, but definitely lived.
Very well lived, some would say.
Very well lived. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the stories hitting the headlines online and in print this morning. Social media limits for children are being planned by the British government to tackle compulsive screen time. Sky News reports that a 2-hour cap per platform is being seriously considered, while at nighttime or school time curfew has also been discussed. Kids will be blocked from accessing such sites as TikTok or Snapchat once they've hit the limit, rather than being reminded of how long they've been scrolling.
Yeah, interesting to see how that one works out. The Irish Times tells us Gardaí in Donegal are seeking to speak to 3 young men after a dummy covered with tomato ketchup was placed by the roadside and struck by a passing car. The incident left the motorist thinking they had actually hit a person, only to find out when they got out of the car they'd actually hit a dummy made using stuffed plastic bags dressed in dark clothing covered in ketchup. The driver and passenger travelling in the vehicle were understandably left shaken following the bizarre incident, which also resulted in the car being damaged. I think that's just an awful thing to do to anyone. It really is. It must have been so scary.
Weird, stupid behaviour. And in the